Hi everybody, welcome back to Hearing Things with Julie and Brad. And today we're going to listen to another one of Julie's patented rants.
It's happening.
Go!
Get excited! So, a while back we did one on games on Amazon that were designed to mimic hearing loss. And that all started very innocently by me just looking up hearing things, just for kicks, because that's the name of our show. I said, I wonder what's on Amazon. And that's when we saw all of those games that were really problematic that stimulated hearing loss. So I said, well, while I'm on the topic, the other day I was like, let me just see what comes up for a deaf or hearing impaired t-shirt. So I started
I'm afraid.
Going into this.
I'm afraid. It's spooky season, so
Before
I'm afraid.
I say anything, humor is in the eye of the beholder. Let's just get that right out there. Everyone's taste is different. Some things that I find hysterically funny, most people find wildly offensive. Okay, I can't help it. You're more of a slapsticky, Three Stooges, simple kind of humor. I'm
simple.
Just like,
yeah, that's true.
The worse the better, right? So, okay. There were a lot of different designs that I found. Okay. So there was a pretty big range. So you had your ASL signs or the I love you hand formations that then transition into like hearts and butterflies on the shirt. Others have the slogan deaf awareness. Others have cheeky humor that may not be for everyone. Yeah. So, for example, one that I saw was The Walking Deaf, which is a play on the show The Walking Dead. One that I almost wanted to buy says my good ear with an arrow that points to the good ear. That made me laugh because I'm always pushing everybody to the left. So
now
even though we're like
an arrow
flipped on the screen, you're on my right. So it's like, gotta move. Another one said, I'm not ignoring you, I just can't hear you. One said, definitely not listening with capital D, capital E, capital A, capital F. One said, I'm deaf. This one actually made me laugh. Okay. I'm deaf. Please speak up. It won't help, but it would be funny. That made me laugh. Would I personally wear any of these things? No, because I think they're tacky, and I just typically don't go out dressed like that in slogan t-shirts. That's not my style. So, unlike the games that I ranted about, at least with the shirts, the purchasers have some agency, right? Yeah. And it's more of a personal expression of how they want to present themselves. Where with the games, there's a lot of bias and offense built in, right? So you don't really have much control over that. So the user gets to decide if it's funny or offensive. And because it's about hearing loss, typically it's probably worn by deaf or hard of hearing people, I'm guessing. I would think. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there that thinks it would be funny to not do that. Which is different than the games. The games are marketed for everyone. Yeah. Oh, excuse us 1 second. Rocky. Enough. Shh. This is completely unscripted. In case you ever doubted that this is an unscripted show, we have 2 Boston Terriers here. Happy is chewing Rocky's favorite bone. Rocky is trying to be a gracious host and let her do it, and he's starting to get upset. So if we keep looking over there, that's why. Anyway. So what was interesting is I'm guessing that these shirts are marketed for the deaf and hard of hearing population, where the games are marketed for everyone. Yeah. So there is some control there, and you can be more purposeful in purchasing these things as opposed to just a game that you think will be fun for family game night and ends up being kind of an offensive issue. So there's dozens of pages of t-shirts. I couldn't report out on all of them. But one thing that bugged me is when I looked at who was making the t-shirts. I wanted to know, are these deaf-owned or hard of hearing-owned companies? Yeah. Or, what's the story? I took samples of all the companies, and it was hard to figure it out because a lot were mass-produced with, like, vague company names. Yeah. So, like, large conglomerates, and a lot of it's made overseas. So it's impossible to figure out if any of these are deaf-owned. If they were, I think I'd be more likely to support it or purchase from it as kind of like for us, by us kind of thing. Like, including us in the narrative and the joke and the fashion expression. So it was just interesting to kind of dive into that a little bit. It didn't upset me as much as the games. The games put me over the edge. The shirts, like I said before, I feel like it's more of a personal expression, so there's a little more leeway there and a little more forgiveness. Again, not something I would choose to wear. That's just not my style. But what are your thoughts on it briefly?
I think it depends on who's wearing it. With a t-shirt, you're making a personal statement, right? With a game, you could be subjected to something. Right. And with these shirts, I think that, you don't worry about appropriation. So like some of the issues you run into, you do run into it with the t-shirts, right? So like the I love you sign is everywhere. And like, I have problems with that because do you know what it means? Do you know why you're using it? Is it respecting the community? Stuff like that. So the T-shirts would be respecting the community if they're by a deaf-owned company, right? Go.
Yeah, this is a sign thing. I mean, I go ballistic, right? Like, I can kind of accept something being signed out on a shirt or the I love you thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it is on every conceivable thing you can find, it makes me nuts. Magnets, for some reason, put me right over the edge of everything. I don't know why the magnets aggravate me. But all of it, it's like, no, this is not okay. You are cherry picking one sign out of a complete language, out of a culture, and using it as a little pop art cutesy thing. Same thing like in the classrooms, and I've talked about this before, I've written about this before, I get nuts. Using sign language in a classroom to communicate a nonverbal need from a kid, like this. Yeah. Instead of saying I have to go to the bathroom, we're going to do this. You are cherry picking. That is appropriation from deaf culture. 100%. I wrote a blog on this. I can go on for an hour. I'm not going to. But it's just really a sticky, slippery slope. Yeah. In our opinion, and I'd be curious to hear what other people had to say. This is just two people with hearing loss talking about it. But it really gets into an unpleasant area. Or like when someone comes up to us and signs their name and says, "Oh, I know sign language." Get away from me. No, you don't. No,
it's an assumption. Yeah.
This is a show. This is a show. Maybe we've done this show already. We've done so many, I don't remember. Wow. But there's going to be another show. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that you run into the issue with appropriation with T-shirts like this. If we were wearing "I love you" sign, that's appropriation because we're not part of deaf culture. But I think these T-shirts are a little less offensive than the games, because the games are making fun of hearing loss. This is more like appropriating deaf culture, so there's less of a stickiness to it. Some of them are fun. I'm a big fan of puns. I knew
you'd love the walking. I knew it. I knew the second I saw that.
Yeah, so some of them I like, but I'm not sure that I'm comfortable because I don't identify as deaf.
Right.
And so the deaf puns are lost on me because I'm not. You can get hard of hearing, which has a whole host of other puns, but they're not really safe for work, so we won't get into this here. But if it's a deaf-owned company and you're buying them and you're supporting them, I have no problem with that because it's really hard for a capital D deaf person to find a job because there's so many people there's so many things they literally cannot do because they can't hear. I mean, our hearing aids allow us to do mainstream jobs. But if we had no hearing, I wouldn't be able to be a librarian or the librarian I am, and you wouldn't be able to be the teacher. And
that I am with a population.
Exactly, right.
Necessarily.
Right. Fair enough. I mean, that's my point really, is you need so many accommodations to just do a regular job if you are completely deaf. And so the deaf baby sign books that I've talked about is the baby sign series isn't written by a deaf woman and it's totally culture appropriating. But get those voices to write the series about their sign language and I'd be okay with that. There's so few opportunities. Most of them are interpreters or teachers. Well, they can't be interpreters, right? Because they don't have no hearing. But they're ASL teachers, stuff like that, and it's so limiting. So that way, I would be okay with buying it to support that person if they're deaf, in order to give that kind of niche a viable business. But yeah, so this wasn't.
I think we may have made some inflammatory statements just now about not being able to do typical jobs, but I think we made the point without significant accommodation. Right. And if anyone disagrees, I'd love to hear about what we just said, because maybe it was a little bit of a generalization in the statement and the way we phrased it. We stand by our opinions here, and we welcome yours. And I think that ties back into that lie that we tell children: you can be anything you want to be. No, you can't. That's another show. I think we did that show.
I think we...
Anyway,
yeah.
But yeah, just got to be thoughtful about language sometimes, but I would love to hear people's comments and impressions about what we said about mainstream jobs, about being teachers, lawyers, doctors, librarians, whatever, with a substantial hearing loss. It's a very oddest world. Something's happening with dogs, and I'm trying to maintain my attention here with all of you in the audience.
I'm not a teacher. I can't do it.
He's keeping an eye on the kids right now, and I'm trying to get this job done. So anyway, let's move on to books so we can go deal with our collective children.
Yeah. So, did you want to go first or you want me to go first?
Go first, and then we'll deal with them.
So I have The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel WIlkerson.
Excellent choice.
A fantastic book. So this is the book. This is a story. It follows four families going through the Great Migration. And so after slavery ostensibly made them free, African Americans didn't have many prospects. They became sharecropping, which is basically just slavery by another name, which is another book actually. And so, dealing with Jim Crow laws in the South, millions of African Americans migrated to the North. So they swapped out Southern racism for Northern racism. Right. And so this follows four different families, their story about migrating to the North. Fascinating book. I didn't learn about it in school at all. And I learned about sharecropping, and that was kind of it. And then we moved on. But it's huge. And now, actually, there's been talk about having a reverse Great Migration because there's so many... the South is so red. If you have African Americans move back to their ancestral lands, well, this country's ancestral lands, you might change the political landscape of the country. And so there has been rumblings of let's do the reverse migration and kind of like shake things up a little bit. But this book is about the first migration. She's a fantastic author. One of the best
books I've ever read. It was really good.
Fantastic book. And don't be afraid. It's thick, but she's a great writer.
It's thick, but take your time with it. I found it really engaging. It's engrossing. It pulls you in. It doesn't read like a textbook. It doesn't read like technical writing and historical writing. It's really good. Highly recommended.
So lighten it up. What do you got?
So I changed my pick because I was sitting here because there's a book I read that I loved and we've never talked about it on the show and I read it not too long ago and I can't remember the author, so you're going to have to look it up.
Okay, we'll look it up.
True Biz.
Oh, Sara Novic.
See, I knew you would know.
It's good.
Fantastic book. Great book. It's so good. It's about deaf and hard of hearing students in a school for the deaf that's also a boarding school. And it kind of talks about the transition of this one girl who had been taught in a mainstream setting, was losing her hearing, transitioning to cochlear implants, and was suddenly dropped into a residential school for the deaf. And I connected with this so much, having been educated in a mainstream setting and wondering what would it have been like if for high school, if I transferred to another program where all of a sudden I'm in the middle of ASL, which is what I don't use to communicate. Right. And this is the struggle that this girl goes through and the implications of not having that as her native language and always being in an oddist world where her hearing was compromised, but she needed to keep up with everybody else. She had to accommodate the hearing people, not the other way around. And it was fascinating because it got into deaf culture, big D deaf, and we don't belong to. And just like the generational, almost elitism, if you come from a family of multi-generational deaf people. There was that one storyline with that one family. And then it talked about agency. So a baby was born to a family that was traditionally, capital D deaf, with the hearing father. And they made a decision to have the baby get cochlear implants as an infant. Who gets to make the choice? Yeah. Right? Who gets to make the choice? My parents had to make that choice. Yeah, I can't. Did they make the right one? Who knows?
Yeah, you'll never know. I think you did okay. I think you did okay.
They did all right. I turned out okay. But it really made me think. Yeah. It's just an excellent book. If you want to deep dive into just all of it, like the teenage angst and agency and deaf culture with uppercase D and the language barriers, and it's just so good. I highly recommend it. It was excellent.
I loved it.
Excellent.
Great
choice.
Loved it.
Yeah. And it was probably the first book I read that had really positive deaf and hard of hearing characters that weren't teaching everyone a special lesson.
Right, they're not the special friend. They're not the PSA. Yeah, I will say that's the first and so far only book with a deaf protagonist that I've seen fly off the shelves in the library. So I was hopeful when I read it that like I would see more. And the publishing industry takes a while, so maybe it's coming. But I want to see more books like that where like they explore the capital D deaf culture and more the like dichotomy between hearing culture and deaf culture and how it's not black and white. There's no right answer. It depends. And those are the things that I love is like the stuff that you really have to think about both sides and you can't say either way which is the better choice.
It was excellent.
Great pick.
It was excellent. Yeah. We're going to go because I'm convinced one of them is chewing something they're not supposed to.
Oh no. Happy is chewing Rocky's tiger, and Rocky got the bone
they
that
swapped
Choppy.
Places. Rocky's on the couch now, and I see a hair elastic on the floor. I'm not sure how that got there, so I'm going to go retrieve that before we have to go to bed.
Bye, guys.
Bye.